I recently brainstormed an interesting experiment, a case study if you will, and I'm gonna need some help with it. We'll start with 100 chosen members of the male population. Out of these subjects, 50 of the chosen ones will have something called a girlfriend, while the remaining 50 will not. We then have all 100 of them watch the new, super popular, one-hit wonder, 12-episode seasonal masterpiece called My Dress-Up Darling. And then, before we are able to draw any interesting conclusions from said experiment, we snap out of our lucid dream and come to realize that there is no way anybody who is watching this show simultaneously has a girlfriend. It's the cold, hard truth. And you know what? That's fine. Even though none of us have romantic interest and probably experience a lack of love and affection in our lives, at least we have our 2D waifus to keep us company, and that's all that matters. My Dress-Up Darling doesn't shy away from what it is or what audience it's catering to. Boob sweat, underwear shots, please put your foot on my face. The fan service displayed by the female main lead Marin is unrivaled, and you know what? Shit, I respect the creators for sticking to their guns. They got handed the perfect specimen, and god damn it, they just want to draw some sexy animations. None of that pansy-ass, dick-tugging, smile-for-the-camera bullshit. I mean, we are real greased up in this show. If you want to watch a hot babe dress up like that one goth chick you dreamt about not all that long ago, then this is the show for you. If not, the door is right there. At least, that's what I originally thought when I started the show. Don't get me wrong, the fan service most certainly is the main draw to the show. But for those of you sitting behind your monitors thinking, fan service? What a primitive concept that in no way interests somebody as sophisticated as myself. First, be honest with yourself. Secondly, however, you'll find that there is more to the show than stockings and boob bags, including a surprising amount of character exploration that I found myself sticking around for. Believe it or not, there's actually a character other than Marin in this show, and it's this guy, whose name is Gojo. Gojo comes from a long line of Hina Doll artists, a long-lasting Japanese fine art that he becomes completely enamored with from a young age. He aspires to one day be able to make his own Hina dolls, just like his grandpa and assumedly dead parents did, and thoroughly devotes himself to it. Unfortunately, this little girl didn't think it was that cool and calls him a little bitch for liking dolls, and Gojo, with his newly found lack of self-confidence, finds himself unable to form any sort of meaningful relationships throughout the entirety of his childhood. He does say good morning to his disembodied Hina doll head every time he wakes up though, so I guess you could say his head is in a good place. Per usual, everything changes when a wild blonde literally falls headfirst into his life. To everybody's surprise, it turns out that she is a massive weeb, but the difference between her and Gojo is that she totally owns up to her unique interests to anybody and everybody around her, something that Gojo could only hope to do. Fast forward a little bit, Marin wants to cosplay her favorite characters, Gojo can make human clothes somehow, and thus a beautiful relationship is born. While Marin finds somebody who can make her dreams of becoming her favorite erotic characters come true, Gojo gains somebody who he can confide in regards to his own unique situation. Putting the inevitable romance aside, I've always loved shows that dive into lesser-known subjects to the eyes of the general public. For example, I learned more about Vikings and the existence of the country of Wales in Vinland Saga than I had ever learned in school. If challenged, I also refuse to accept that any of it isn't real or historically accurate. Same goes for My Dress-Up Darling. The intricacies of cosplay, the whole process that goes into creating a costume from scratch, or the reasons why people do it in the first place. It's something that, without watching this show, you would never give it a second thought and go on with your life thinking, that's kind of weird if you ever happen across it in public. And if you're like me, you'll still think that despite watching the show. But getting the opportunity to gain context and potentially respect for a craft is something that doesn't pop up in our lives very often. Other than those long nights spent watching competitive pillow fighting on YouTube. Not only do we get to learn about these niche topics, but we also get a bit of insight into the love and passion that these people put into their craft. At first glance, this looks like a stick with an old dude's face on it. What you don't see is the blood, sweat, and hours upon hours of practice that made creating something like this actually possible. Episode 4 of the show presents the struggle and commitment it takes to reach the level of a professional. And whether you've been a student, pursued any hobby in your life, or existed, we've all experienced something akin to just feeling completely overwhelmed in our lives. The frustration and anxiety that comes with the idea that you have too much to do and too little of time, or you just simply aren't doing enough, leading to the inevitable spiral of depression, is something that I am sure everybody has experienced at some point. Gojo goes through just this. Between balancing school, cosplay, and Hina dolls, the world feels like it is just crumbling around him. The urge to quit, to just give up is a very powerful one. Spending hours upon hours honing your craft only to see very minute improvements day by day can be brutal. Yet we continue on. We watch the character of Gojo take a turn from the generic male protagonist to somebody who really has some meat on his bones, having a sense of down-to-earthness that makes a viewer sympathize with him. Observing him in his moments of weakness helped to humanize the character named Gojo, and watching him overcome these situations make the story beats all the more powerful. Having an audience care about the audacious female lead with a great character design is often a piece of cake. But being able to get everybody all hands on deck, dicks out for the male main character is a bit of a rarity in these types of shows. Instead of being hung up on why this 10 out of 10 would fall for a loser like him, you're actually able to understand how and why this thing works. And that's pretty neat. So the big question, should you watch My Dress Up Darling? It's a pretty dramatic shift in tone from the other heavy hitters this season, which lean on their action and adrenaline-filled goodness to carry the show. Because of this, I feel like it's able to carve out a little niche of its own, and serves as a nice little sanctuary before getting your heart eviscerated on Sundays. And you know, god damn it, sometimes it's just nice seeing people happy. Not getting eaten alive by giant humanoids, not watching their entire family get slaughtered right in front of them. Just watching normal humans be who they want to be. The simplicity of people having fun, sharing their hobbies amongst themselves. I know, I'm exerting major unsigma-like vibes, as the kids would call it. But really, put down your replica Demon Slayer sword and just take a load off. Instead of thinking about the impending doom and cruelty of our world, watching something that instills a feeling of hope, something that makes you appreciate the things and people around you, can be pretty nice as well. So yeah, I think My Dress Up Darling is worth a watch. But not because of any of that trash I talked about before. As explained so eloquently by Linechi17, this show is GOAT for making Marin boobs jiggle juggle. Nice. Hi friends, this whole video was just an excuse to show off the $10 stick I bought in an amusement park, if you were wondering. Make sure to comment if you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace.